Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story. Thanks so much for joining me today. I am going to be doing the Byzantine stretch bracelet, and I'm going to be doing it in two ways. So I wanted to show you two different pattern ways of doing this. The first being two colors of rubber O-rings and one color of jump ring, and you can see those all over here. And then I'm going to do one color of rubber O-ring and two different colors of jump rings within that pattern. So both of these patterns are just really lovely, and I think you're going to have a great time making these. This is usually the beginner project that the most people want to start with, because the pattern of a Byzantine weave is just very ornate, it's lovely, but it's fairly easy to do. So I'm going to show this to you two different ways, and you can of course purchase your own materials to make this, or we have kits available for you, and we're going to have some kits offered in a brand new way at beadmeastory.com. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started making. So in order to make this first Byzantine design, you'll notice that I went ahead and pre-opened all of my jump rings. These are 18 gauge 3/16 jump rings. I have 7.25 millimeter rubber O-rings, and these are of course rubber, so they're not going to open and close. The only thing that can be open with this is your jump rings. But I'm going to show you how to do this real easily, and it's a lot of fun to make. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is take one jump ring, and we're going to pick up two of our color A O-rings. So we'll have color A and color B. So A is the green, blue is B. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this jump ring. Alright, and then I'm going to add a second one. So here, let me spread these out a little bit so they're easier to grab. Okay, so now we have two rubber O-rings and two metal jump rings. Now I will tell you that this very first step is the hardest, just because we don't have a whole lot to grab onto here, but still pretty simple. So have no fear, you can do this with a little practice. Alright, so I'm going to take this first jump ring, and basically we're going to go from the outside to the inside of the jump ring that's closer to you. Okay, so I'm going to pass through here. Now I'm going to let go. This one's going to drop down, but that's okay. We'll get back to it in a minute. We're going to pick up two new rubber O-rings, and then we're going to lift this other jump ring back up and pass through it, moving from the inside to the outside. Now you'll notice as I do this that my work swung around, and when I close this jump ring, I'm going back towards the first row as opposed to just, it working outwards. And that creates this little fold back effect that you get with the Byzantine weave. Okay, so it should look like that at this point. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over. So this is the top. I'm going to flip it over to the back side, and you see I have this little V here, and we're going to be working a second jump ring through that. So I'm just going to pick this up. I'm going to hold it so that I can get through all these rings, whatever is comfortable for you. And I'm going to pass through one jump ring, two O-rings, and one jump ring. And you see how the work swings around. And then I'm going to go ahead and close this jump ring. Okay, so now that we have this row complete, you can see that our color A O-rings are sitting where you can see down through the hole, and the next pair of O-rings, the color B O-rings, are sitting vertically, so you kind of see the outside edge of that. Okay, now we're going to start another row, And we're going to start that next row by just adding 2 jump rings. We're adding them to that color B pair of O-rings that we just added. So again, we're going to add a pair. Everything in Byzantine is 2 by 2. And I like this 2 color situation for beginners because it's very easy to see where you are, and you can see that, you know, each color is going to turn 90 degrees as you go along. Okay, so we have our 2 jump rings to start our next row. I'm going to turn them this way so now you can see down through the color B O-rings. Okay, and I'm just going to do the same thing as last time. I'm going to take my jump ring, I'm going to pass through from outside to inside this jump ring. I'm going to just let this other one drop, pick up 2 O-rings, and then I'll lift this other jump ring back up. And you can see once again when I close this jump ring, the opening is back towards the start of the work. And then I'll close this jump ring. Okay, I'm going to flip that over again to the back side. You can see we have this V here and no jump ring moving across that V. So we're going to take this other jump ring, going to pass through the jump ring, 2 O-rings, and 1 jump ring. And then again, when we close this, we're going back towards the beginning of the work. That's just how the jump rings slide in. Okay, and close. All right, and now we're ready to start another row. So you can see, I can see down through the green or color A O-rings right now. Starting a new row, we always start it with 2 jump rings. Okay, so very simple. It does make it easy that the jump rings are all the same color, so you don't have to think about any of that. The pattern is just going to happen. Okay, and just like before, we got our 2 jump rings hanging off the side here. This time we're going to be adding the color B O-rings. So I'm going to take my jump ring, move from outside to inside, pick up 2 O-rings, lift this other jump ring back up. Again, I'm closing back towards the beginning of the work. And close the jump ring. Okay, and flip this over. And take my jump ring, pass through, jump ring, 2 O-rings and a jump ring, and I'm going to close back towards the beginning of the work. Okay, so we're just following the same pattern over and over again. This becomes very easy to do. It's a really intricate, beautiful pattern though. It's probably the favorite chainmail weave of everybody. Everybody seems to like how this pattern looks, the ornate nature of it. So we're just going to continue on. Of course, we'll start our next row with 2 jump rings. And then of course we're going to go back to our color A O-ring. And you can start to see now that our greens are all sitting horizontally while our blues are all sitting vertically. And that's the nice part of doing this 2 color pattern with the O-rings, is that it's very easy to see that you're doing the correct thing with each row, and it's a lot of fun. So I'll be back in just a second, continue making the length of this, and then I will show you how to complete this bracelet and link it back to itself. Okay, so as you can see, I have reached the final length of this. We started with the color A O-ring, and we're ending with the color B O-ring. And you can see the A O-ring is sitting horizontally, so you can see down through the hole. And the color B O-ring is sitting vertically, where you can only see the outside edges of this. this is where you want this to be in order to finish it. So we're going to bring this all around, and you can see very clearly here that these two are facing different directions. So just like before, now I'm going to be working on the starting end, and that's just because that's on my left and it's easy to reach. Doesn't really matter which end you end up working on. But basically we just want to add 2 jump rings like we're starting a new row. Okay, make sure to close those jump rings in a nice clean way. Okay, and there's my second jump ring. So I had 4 jump rings left. Now I'm down to 2. And these are the ones that we're going to use to connect with. Okay, so let me bring this back around this way. I'll just show you what's going to happen here. So just like before, you see we have our little split where we started a new row. But in this case, we are not adding new O-rings. We're just joining back to the ending O-rings. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to kind of hold this in place. This isn't hard, but you know, it may take you some situating to get things where you want them to be, because the easiest way to do this is just to fly through all 4 of these, the jump ring, the 2 O-rings, and the jump ring all at the same time, and see how my work turned back around. And then I'm going to close this jump ring. Okay, so that is one side. As you know, we always have to work on the top and the bottom. So let's flip this over. And you can see right here, I've got this little V going on. But the other jump ring is holding this in place now. So this will be very easy to go through the jump ring, the 2 O-rings, and the jump ring, and close. Okay, so very simple to finish this. And I hope you had a lot of fun making this. So this is the design that I would recommend starting with, because you only have 1 color of jump ring, and then the O-rings kind of show you where things should be as you're adding them. So you can see our blue is up and our green is horizontal in this case, but I could turn it a quarter turn, and just like when you're wearing this bracelet, you could have 1 color out and 1 color showing on the sides. Okay, and so you can see I could just turn that a quarter turn, and now we have the green facing out for us. So this is a lot of fun to make. Like I said, this is a very, very popular weave in the chainmail world. Everybody seems to like how this looks. It's fairly easy to complete, and you know, it's a lot of fun to make. So I'm going to show you a second pattern. This one is still very easy, but we're going to be changing the colors of our jump rings this time instead of the O-rings, and so you need to pay a little bit more attention to the placement of things. Okay, so now we're going to start the second design that we can do with this, and this still just uses 3 different components. So 2 colors in the jump rings and 1 color in the O-rings this time. So this is going to change the look of it. You only have 1 O-ring color and 2 jump ring colors. So the sky blue will be A, and the matte lavender will be color B. Okay, so just like before, and we're going to be going through just the same steps. So if you have a handle on this, you know, and you want to just fast forward through a little bit of this stuff, you certainly can. But I did want to show the second design because I think this one's really pretty too. It's still a very easy pattern to do. So again, we're going to start by just adding 2 jump rings to 2 rubber O-rings. Okay, and then this time, it's very wise to add a marker to the start of this so you don't lose track of where your beginning is, because it's easy to put down the work and start working on the wrong end, and then it can get a little bit confusing with the jump ring colors. Okay, so I'm using a paper clip. You can use a twisty tie, a little piece of string knotted onto the end, whatever. It's going to come off at the end, so it's not really a big deal, whatever you decide to use. Okay, so we have our 2 O-rings, and then of course our 2 jump rings, which split into the V, just like you saw before. So this time I had the color A jump ring. Now I'm going to add the color B jump ring, and again I'm going to pass from outside to inside this first jump ring that's closer to me. I'll pick up 2 rubber O-rings, and then I'll close. Oops, I'm sorry. I lost track of what I was doing there. 2 rubber O-rings, and then we're going to lift up the second jump ring. If we don't do that, we don't get any pattern, right? Okay, and that makes it turn back, and you can see we're going towards the paper clip, closing this jump ring back towards the beginning. I think my brain just had a hiccup there for a minute. Okay, so we'll turn this over to the back side just like we did before. I know my paper clip's making it weird and wants to turn it the wrong way, but just like before, we're going to be going through the jump ring, the 2 O-rings, and the jump ring. Okay, and these will, the one on the back side just slides through because the first jump ring you added is holding everything into place, and we're going to close. Okay. Now, we just added the matte lavender, the color B, and then we're going to do 2 more color B jump rings to start the next row. And these are going to be, so basically when you've just done 2 color Bs, then you need 2 more color Bs. When you just did 2 color As, then you need 2 more color A's to start the next row. So basically you use 4 of the same color jump rings in a row as you do this version of it. But it's going to look really pretty. It looks, I really like this. Okay, so we're starting our new row using the color B. Now we're going to bring in the color A jump rings again, and we'll of course be adding 2 more rubber O-rings. So I'm going to pass through this jump ring from outside to inside, pick up 2 rubber O-rings, lift the other one up, and of course we'll be closing back towards the paper clip, which is the beginning. Okay, and then we'll take our second color A, pass through jump ring, 2 O-rings, and jump ring, and close the jump ring. Okay, and so we just did 2 color A's, so I'm going to add 2 more to start the next row. Okay, so it's very easy to see how we're changing our jump ring colors as we go through this. Like I said, it would only get confusing if you didn't mark your beginning and you laid it down and came back later and started working in the opposite direction, which is very easy to do because it's hard to see where the start and end of this one is. Okay, so there we go. We added 2 color A's. Now we want our color B's to continue adding to this row. Okay, so from outside to inside, pick up 2 rubber O-rings, lift up the other jump ring, and we'll be closing back towards the beginning. Okay, and I'm going to add this next jump ring, then I'll let you continue along with your work, get this to the length that you want it to be, and then I will come back to show you how to finish this one. And it is basically done the same way as the other one, but I'm going to still go through the motions and show you how this one is a little bit different from the 2 color O-ring version that we just did. So these are just design choices that you can make. Obviously you can change the colors a whole bunch of different ways. I have done ones with 4 colors before, But just remember, if you add more colors and more variation into this pattern, then the length, so if you're designing these for other people, then you need to know exactly how many rows are going to be in this, because it might end with, you know, if you got 1, 2, 3, 4 colors of O-rings, then you might not have a number of rows that's divisible by 4, and that's going to create problems for you if you're, you know, trying to do a rainbow or trying to do 4 colors. That the math is going to be a little bit different, and basically you just need to know exactly how many rows you're going to need and make sure to use the correct number of colors that's going to work with that amount of rows. So you do need, obviously, for Byzantine to be an even number of rows, because you can see that with our O-rings we start with a horizontal and a vertical and a horizontal and a vertical, and so you need at least to be divisible by 2 in your number of rows for a Byzantine to work. Okay, so when we've gotten to the full length of this bracelet that we want it to be, again, we should have 4 jump rings left at the end. So I've got 2 of each color, and the main thing I want to point out is that the start of the bracelet, I have this sitting vertically and the end horizontally. It could be the opposite. I could have the beginning sitting horizontally and the end sitting vertically. It doesn't matter, just as long as these are the opposite of each other. So I'm going to take the paper clip off now. We don't need that anymore. And just like before, I think I'm going to go ahead and add to the end, or I'm sorry, the start of the bracelet. And I'm just going to treat this like I'm adding a brand new row. Okay, so I've added these 2 jump rings. And a good way to know which jump rings, you can see that these are making the V out of this, and we want a V on the other side. Okay, so I couldn't add purple. If I look at the lavender V, I wouldn't be going down through the O-rings, right? So if I turn this to the side, I've got the V with the sky blue, and I can make a new V that mirrors that. Okay, so that's the best way to know which side. So I'm going to bring this up and around. Now, just like before, this is why we have these O-rings going in different directions from one another. So I'm going to make this meet up and sit between these 2 jump rings that are here. Okay, and I'm going to kind of try and hold it in place with my left hand. I know this makes it hard for you to see. Okay, so see how this little V is sitting on either side of the 2 O-rings that I brought around to meet up with the beginning. And I'm going to pass through 1 jump ring, the 2 O-rings, and 1 jump ring. My work is spinning around as I do this. And then I will close this jump ring. Okay, and then we're going to have to like turn our work around like this so that I can see this V on the other side. And then again, this one's very easy to get through because it's all being held into place. So I'm going through a jump ring, 2 O-rings, and a jump ring. And you can see that this pattern is very different from the first pattern. I'm going to bring both of them back so you can see the difference. So this one kind of highlights the jump rings being a different color and gives you different sparkles and effects going around it, which I really like. And then the other one, we had 2 different color O-rings. So the O-rings on the top and on the side are 2 different colors, but we have the same color of jump ring going all around the outside. Okay, so 2 different designs, same weave, same materials, all that stuff. It just gives you two different ways to do this, whatever you prefer, and either one makes a beautiful stretch bracelet. So I hope you had a great time learning to make this project. Please be sure to like and follow us, and of course these kits for these or supplies are available at beadmeastory.com. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time.